all I could think about was hitting Cassper. So all the strategy, like I was already told by my coaches, like, yo, don't try and hit him. You actually need to stay away from him as much as you can. Just move around, dodge him, move around. And it's like, if you look at that fight, I was getting straight for him. Even when I got knocked out, I don't even remember getting hit. You know, I just remember getting up. I'm like, this guy won here. Like, yo, why? I'm going for him. You know, you go, you know?
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic gotta say. I got him picking up the pieces. Hook it up.
Yeah, I have this beaming smile on my face. For a moment I said, why am I feeling a little bit nervous? I don't know, man. My heart just pours out for this person. One of the greatest to do it. Someone who really exudes excellence in any and every way imaginable. And I'm not saying that from a point of bias. I'm saying it because I've known this person for, 14 years of my existence and many, many more years to go. I could give you the longest introduction, but he needs no introduction at all because his name is the one, the only, and I'm gonna need, like in post, I'm gonna need like an applause, a roar, a crowd, a scream, a this, a that. The Priddy Ugly! Big Vrr.
Big Vrr.
Oh, not just Vrr, Big
Nah,
Vrr.
it's Big Vrr.
Yeah, they just wanna see me in the grave. Come out the law in the rave. Oh no, I can't wait. You can read what you saw in the day. I was down, now I'm up to the plate. Got a couple hits, cause you know I cannot play. We gon' win it no matter what they say. Got the stick, we gon' bring it out the safe.
I call him dad.
Yeah.
I call him
dad.
father figure.
Yeah.
Father
You're calling me dad even before I was a dad.
Before,
right?
literally.
You know what's interesting?
What?
My first nickname in primary school
was
dad.
was dad. Why was that?
I really don't know, but I had a friend, and I was a very like serious kid, but like I had a friend named Dimsani. Shout out, you know, bless his soul. He's still out there. He's a rapper by the name of Purge, and there used to be this guy named Ricardo something who did the news. I think it was like Xhosa News or whatever news, something news, and he always used to start with like saying Baba, Baba, you know? So because I was Ricardo and he's Ricardo, I'm Ricardo, you know, like it was Baba first, then it just became Dad. And my whole high school career, I mean, not high school,
Life in general.
my whole primary school life, I was called Dad.
So you've always meant to be a father figure.
And my homies call me Dad also, me and Buncha are mom and dad, you know, like, you know what I mean? So I've always been like, father figure for real.
Always.
Let's
Father
go.
man. Also, what's your full name? I remember in another interview that went viral, a very popular one. You shared your full name, and I think that's one of the first times that everyone
damn.
got to hear,
For
beginning
real?
to end.
Sheesh.
Yeah, Ricardo.
So it's Runya, Ricardo, Apollo, Dominguez, de Constanzao, de Alessandra, Luca, Muloi. So basically, like, you know, so
I'm just like-
so I'm, you know, my mom is Portuguese, born in Angola. I was born in Angola, raised in South Africa. So in Angola, what you do, so your sister, Mudiselle, right, marries me, who's a Muloi. Her surname then becomes Mudiselle Muloi. We have children who are Mudiselle Mulois, and they marry Jacobs. They become Africa Mudiselle Muloi Jacobs. So it's almost like a Tagazelo, like people's surnames just stick there. So it's not like a name, it's actually like a mixture of like different like surnames.
It's not even
and it's just like a
double-barrel.
way to
Yeah.
backtrack like the family lineage and the history. And
So that's actually not on your ID though.
yeah, it's not on my ID. It was on my birth certificate, my Angolan birth certificate.
Yeah.
But when it came to South Africa, I think you could only put like 2 or 3 names on it. And they had to cut it short. My mom as well, they had to cut it short. But her Angolan passport still has a full name and everything, yeah.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about you?
That I'm arrogant, I guess.
Of course, we're shy.
Yeah, and I am. I actually like really am shy. But it's like everyone who like actually gets to meet me and like sees me and like we shake hands and whatever. It's always like, yo, dude, you're so humble, you know? And I think the biggest misconception is like but granted, growing up I was like very serious. I never really started smiling in pictures until like 3-4 years ago. Before that, I always like mean-bugged in pictures. But I'm from the East, you know, so like in the East, Joe, like we grew up like tough, you know, we don't show any like form of weakness. Being happy is a form of weakness. Being like, I swear, dude, like smiling too much, like,
Wow.
so that was literally like something we're taught from like a very young age. Don't go around like just smiling with people, like, you know? And I kind of like grew up with that. And it's like your sister actually got me to like smile. And not because she told me to smile in pictures. I just realized that I'd be taking pictures with her and I was smiling. And I'm like, oh, damn. And I also didn't like, you know, and it's ironic because growing up, I was actually very insecure. But by insecure, it's just like I was always mocked for like different things. Like, you're short. Oh, na ma. You got a big nose. You're not really South African. You know, like dumb stuff that kids like, you know, mock themselves about, you know? So I was never necessarily like bullied because I always had like a very strong will, but like it did affect like how I saw myself. So as a result, like I didn't think I had like a nice smile. So like I never smiled. And that was my excuse. No, I don't like my smile, so I'm not gonna smile.
So on a count of 3, you're gonna smile into that camera.
Damn,
One,
I'm already smiling.
2, 3.
I tried to mean mug, but it's just like it didn't work.
It's really
It didn't
not a
work.
thing.
Yeah,
It's not.
Yeah, I also don't know what other stereotypes there are. But I think the arrogant one is the one that I get like a lot because that's what people say to me all the time. Like, yo, man, always thought you like this arrogant person and like, you know, you're so unapproachable and stuff. But like, you know, we saw you, even if they didn't see me or they didn't come up to me directly, someone would be like, yo, I saw you engage with somebody earlier on at the mall and like, you were so nice and friendly to them. Or I saw you taking pictures with people in the parking lot and like, that's so nice of you. Other personalities, they say celebrities, but I don't really use that word.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's not to say that there's negative connotation to it, but I guess it depends on how you use the word. If you're using it like to celebrate people, it's like, yo, we're all like celebrating each other, so we're celebrities. But if we're using it in like the social construct, it's like, you're the nicest celebrity we've ever met, you know? And I'm like, oh, that's so weird, man. And I've never introduced myself as Priddy Ugly. So I think that's what people catch off guard like a lot of the times when they meet me and I'm like, yo, Ricardo. They're like, oh, I never knew. I'm like, yeah. Oh,
It's
do
my
you?
name.
Yeah, you know? So I mean, I could blab.
Where you are in your life and in your career, do you think
Yeah.
you're gonna hold on to the name Priddy Ugly for many more years?
No,
What are your feelings around that?
Bruh, I actually really wanted to change my name a couple of years ago. Cause dude, I've been Priddy Ugly for almost 16 years, you know? And it wasn't even a name that I chose. It was a name that was given to me in high school. And it just stuck with me and then the name spread even before I could change it and people were already calling me Priddy Ugly. So I'm like, I might as well. It was just like an ad-lib, but it was a thing that I said in my raps. It was never my name. I think at the time my name was Ransack or Rich Boy or something, you know? I think my first earlier releases on Facebook, 2009, 2010. Yeah, I was dropping stuff under the alias Rich Boy or Ransack or something like that. But everyone always called me Priddy Ugly anyway. So it was like a street name that all my friends called me. So eventually when I registered my name as an artist, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll just use Priddy Ugly.
Yeah.
And now it's stuck with me. But, you know, for the last couple of years, I have wanted to change my name. I felt like, you know, it was just like, I love what the name has done for me in building me as a brand and, you know, but it was also just like the negative connotation around like ugly. And I know it's not just ugly, it's Priddy Ugly. So like, it meant something different to me 17 years ago than what it like means now. And now I just haven't wanted any like filth or dirt or anything negative around my name, you know? And not even in the meaning of the name, just the word ugly standing next to pretty. It's just like, I want to get rid of, you know, ugly, but like just calling myself pretty would be weird. But anyway, my management was just like, yo, bro, you're Priddy Ugly. You're staying as Priddy Ugly. So if anyone ever wants to know, like, yes, I thought about changing my name.
I think anyone who's followed you on social media, anyone who's tracked your journey, is how you are truly a son of the soil. And you also represent that in your music. I mean, soil and mud as two bodies of work back to back.
Sure.
Why those bodies of work and what is it about the fullness of your African identity that you want to represent well and take out into the world?
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, being with your sister, shout out to my
Shout out to
my
one
baby
time.
one time, you know what I mean? Yeah, just being with her. I even remember like when we started dating, like one of the things that like I was really attracted to in her was like just how different she was from like all the other females that I was meeting in those times, you know. And obviously it's like, you know, it's our adolescent stage, and like, you know, we're getting into the phase Eddie makeup, and like girls can wear weaves and this and that and that. And I just liked how like natural like your sister was, you know, compared to like everyone else that was like in my space. And not to say that like dreads are necessarily like an African thing, or like, or having no makeup means like you're African. I mean, you can be African and wear makeup and be beautiful, you know. But that was something I particularly loved about her, you know. There was just like an Africanness about it, and like us just like growing up together, it's made me want to like really like explore my Africanism even more, and what it means to be African outside of like what society has built for us as Africans. Like, yo, we're a third world country, you're poor, there's nothing in Africa. You're Africans, you know what I'm saying? So we're ashamed of a lot of things as kids. So like I was very ashamed of like being African, and then like
And being Angolan.
and then being Angolan, and then people, you know, to some people get like and like people would say it, but like I never really let it affect me. So it was like, oh, laugh, yeah, you know. At some point, like, you know, a nickname that I chose is Kuke Kwang, and that's like, that's another word of saying like kwera. But you know, the same way like us as black people, I'll say Americans more specifically, like embrace the word nigga, and now we use it as a term of endearment and whatever, you know. We can call each other nigga, but you can't call us nigga. I use that, the word kwang, as yeah, ke lo kwera vele, and kabua. And what are you gonna say about it? And what you gonna do? And moving in with your sister, we just started exploring like Africanism. Because I don't want to just say African spirituality, because it has more to do with, it's got more to do, it's like there's a lot more than just that. But it was in the whole, just us going through our cultural experiences together. So our lobola process, to your father's tombstone, to actually then getting married, and just what came with, spiritually what came with that, like with doing all of those things, you know, was actually like life-changing. And it's just like, yo, man, like being African is actually so powerful. So my company is called the Global African Stream, you know, Global African Sounds. I mean, you know what I mean? Shout out guests coming very, very soon. We gassed up. Let's go, you know? Buntleba Africa production. My daughter's name is Africa. So there's just been like a crazy obsession about like really just trying to like explore our Africanism. And it doesn't mean exploring your Africanism means that I need to be wearing leather, I mean, animal print and leopard print everywhere I go. It's like, it's more like, it's more spiritual, I guess I could say. I even forgot what the question was. I forgot the question was.
You've really spoken about it. No, it's beautiful.
I'm actually very nervous. I don't get nervous during interviews, but like I speak to, you know, Candace all the time. I've grown up with her, like literally, like I've known her since she was like epikinini. But like being on camera with her and actually speaking about this, it feels kind of awkward, you know? But like it's dope. But it's also because I'm super proud, dude. Like it's like, no, because like we'd speak about these things. I remember before you started this, and a couple of years ago, we're speaking about like, you know, creating like our own channels and our own platforms. And we spoke about having you on our show, and one time we'll like interview you on Hamuloi, and then like, and one day you interview me, and you know, and this is officially like the first, like, I've known you for like very long, obviously many conversations, but our first like official like on TV interaction.
Actually, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on your TV before, but like, I mean, that was, I don't remember. That was probably just like your bye-bye. Yeah, you know? But it wasn't like a one-on-one, you know?
Yes.
So now
and with that level of maturity, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm proud of you, Doug. Shout out, big show. Let's go.
Let's speak about the music.
Sure.
We dabbled and we spoke about mud, we spoke about soil, and just what those.
Did I even mention anything?
Oh, let's go back to it.
So mud, soil. So the reason why I'd actually even like just call the projects that is like, I really wanted to work on very grounded projects, and that's really what it means. So the soil is what is the ground, and it symbolizes life and death. That's what my name actually, when I came up, you know, when I decided to use the name Priddy Ugly and decide what it meant for me, it represented life, you know? Some things are good, some things are bad, you know? Life and death, oxymorons, opposites, you know? And so with soil, it was like I was going through a process in my life where I was really trying to tap into my heritage and my roots and just discover, like I've always known who I was as a young man growing up, you know, but now I had to like reestablish myself and my thoughts as like a husband now. Like what does that mean for me? Like what type of husband do I want to be, you know? What type of father do I want to be?
Yeah.
And what type of person do I want to be while being a father and a husband, but external to being a father and a husband? Like who am I, even when I'm on my own, like how do I represent my family, you know, and what do I represent? So Soil was really about that, you know, so I was reading like, watching a lot of documentaries, watching a lot of Bishop Mabonga at the time, a lot of African spirituality stuff, and like even exploring that side of me and tapping into it like a little bit more. And so I really wanted to work on like a very grounded project. And so Soil was like, yo, is life, you know?
Yeah.
For the plants to grow, for us to exist, the food that we eat, they come from the soil, you know? We live above the soil, and like it gives us everything that intrinsically makes us the human beings that we are. And when you die, you're gonna go back to the soil. And that's really what Soil was about. But I didn't wanna put it in music, just like, oh, live life and be grounded and be, it was just like, I mean, it was more metaphoric. And mud was just like, you know, what do you do when you add water to soil? And that's really, but it was also representing like where I was in my life at that time. It was just like it represented like a lot of rainy days, which are not like all bad and gloomy. So don't think about it like that. But it does come with gloom and sadness, you know? But it was also like, in the mud, there's two perspectives to it. Like mud, is dirt, but in the same mud is where plants grow. You know, you need to put water in the mud for it to cultivate anything, you know? So mud was supposed to be like a more heavier, damper version of like what soil was. And the next one is coming too.
Which is? Wait, soil, mud, erosion.
I mean, close.
Soil, mud. Because I'm thinking,
Don't wanna give it
adding
away.
another element, fire.
I mean,
Glass.
That's good. Yeah.
Because wait, isn't sand and fire make glass?
That's hard. I didn't think about that. Okay, you're giving me ideas. You're giving me ideas. I mean, let's see what I end up calling it, and then maybe I might need to give you like some royalties because I might.
You might just be like, you know, I'm gonna take that.
Actually, glass.
Glass.
No, but I already know what it is. But I'll let people. I'll let people
We'll
like
linger.
simmer on it and like think about it. I've seen people make guesses online and they have got it right.
Do we have a prospective date or time that you're going to?
Middle of the year.
Middle of the year.
Winter for sure. I love winter projects.
Is it going to be an EP or an album?
It's an album.
Okay.
So it's my third official album.
How do you make a choice between an EP and an album? What season of your life informs what kind of body of work you'll put out?
That's a very good question because a lot of artists actually don't even know what the difference is. You know, they don't even know what EP stands for extended play, and LP stands for long play. And EPs were supposed to be short projects, but now people are dropping 15-track, 18-track projects, you know, and calling them EPs, you know. I think, and a lot of people and artists like dabble around that and like they don't actually know what to call it, but I see with a lot of people, before I explain what it means for me, it's actually when they work on a project and they are afraid to do whatever needs to happen to come up with the rollout plan and work on the rollout plan and push it like a full-blown album. And if they don't have full confidence in it and in the marketing and everything, they call it an EP. But like, you know, even when it was intended to be an album, you know, maybe like if it wasn't so successful, it's like, oh no, but that was an EP, you know? So I didn't take it very seriously. Wait until my album comes, you know?
Wow.
But with me, I think it's interesting because like what goes into my EPs and what goes into my albums is exactly the same type of process. Like I treat my EPs like albums. Maybe the difference is that if it's an EP, maybe I'll only shoot like a video or two for it.
Okay.
You know, but if it's an album, then we're gonna try to do the whole thing, the whole rollout. You know, it's gonna be accompanied by the merchandise, by the tours, by the extensive, long, you know, media interviews that we'll be doing, and the listening sessions, you know. But, you know, EPs, because technically how they came about, like EPs and mixtapes, was like when people had projects, but they didn't have enough money to spend on the marketing of the project. So you call it an EP. So a lot of the beats that you got weren't beats that were paid for. It was just like beats that you download on the internet, and hence why it's an EP.
Yeah.
But if it's the album, you actually need to play the producers.
Process.
It's a whole thing. So for me, like, I mean, my first album was Egypt. Second album was Soil. This will be my third
official
album.
album. Even though you put out so many bodies
Even
of
though
work.
there's been a lot of bodies of work for sure,
Yeah.
you know. So I think with this one, people can expect like probably my biggest project yet, because I've never actually done the whole thing where like I've actually dropped my merchandise and I've gone on tour and like,
Hey,
you know,
hunini.
and people have been
Hunini,
crying,
what's
you know.
duregi. Rikupa duregi, rikupa, I can say like.
You know, and how about Durag, like it's crazy because I'd actually worked on something on Durags back in 2019 with a guy that we, you know, and I don't want to mention his name because I think he's a good guy. He did snake me, but this is not the platform for it. And we invested in that, and you know, he did a sample for me, like 5 Durags that were great, and you know, paid him an extensive amount of money to do more, and he disappeared. And then COVID hit, and then I also never like really chased him, and then
You're like, hi.
and then yeah, you know, it was just like a we live and we learn experience, but like no more excuses. Like you guys are getting everything this year, you know, because I also feel like I've kind of shortchanged myself and like not doing the holistic thing when I'm dropping a project, you know. So as a result, I still bump into people who are like, especially since leaving the label, dog, like, what's up? Like, you know, you don't make music anymore. You haven't dropped since In the Mood, you know. But it's also like people also don't understand, like, you know, how being independent and being signed to an independent major record label like works, you know, like at Ambitious Entertainment, like you're almost guaranteed to get radio play, not entirely, but almost, you know, TV play, exposure, you know. And as an independent, like you may not see me on those platforms that you used to see me at now because like, you know, we don't fit the industry standards of like what it takes, you know, whether we can't pay the JoJos, or you know, you're not actually like really connected with the people like that, or whatever. There's always something, you know. So I think people who don't follow me and like pay it, and who are like real fans of mine, don't actually know that I've been dropping, because like they don't hear me just playing on Metro every single day or Kai FM or whatever, you know. But those who don't know.
Let's speak about the Priddy Ugly creative process.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing differently now that you haven't done before? You've said that you're going harder, you're going full swing, but when it comes to the music, what is studio looking like for you?
I think the main thing right now is like really getting out of my comfort zone, because the comfort zone I created is just like recording at home. You know, we got the studio set up at home, and that's always been like the best situation for me. There's always been studios to our disposal, but like I always preferred working at home in a bedroom studio or whatever type situation. And now it's actually like stepping out of the studio, because like obviously we want to record people, we want to record choirs and like have people with bands coming through, and it's just like I'm not trying to bring them into our home, you know. And also it's like I live at home, so it also creates like a level of like comfort a little bit, where it's just like it's hard to separate father time, husband time, music time.
Wow.
And so like even if I'm alone at home now, like I'm in the studio, but I'm still thinking about like the kitchen that needs to be cleaned, or the home stuff that needs to happen, and like the guys are coming to fix and do maintenance, and it's like, so I'm not really like focused and zoned in on like the art the way I'm supposed to be, you know? Yeah. And a short film is coming up, a documentary also that's coming up, You know, I had my guy Maverick Seizure, shout out, who's, you know, he's shooting for Bass now and Dreamville. He's doing like great things. He was shooting my documentary last year, prepping for the fight, after the fight, everything leading up to the fight, and working on mud and stuff. So it's like when people do see that, I think it's also gonna give them like a nice different perspective on as to like what else was happening outside of like what you guys saw, the fight, the loss, the what.
Let's actually, because I'm pretty sure people are clicking onto this interview going, so what happened? That's what a lot of people are wanting to know.
Yeah, man.
From your perspective, from your experience, because naturally people think it's literally just tussling, two people just swinging at each other, but the technicalities and everything around that and building up to it, which was also so fast-paced. You know, it's a completely different ball game.
It's different, man. It was, you know, because if there's one thing people need to know about boxing and officializing boxing matches, is that weight is a very big thing. You know, so me and Cassper, like when he first approached me about fighting, he was like 32 kgs heavier than me. Bear in mind, boxing matches don't happen if people are 2 kgs different, or like weight difference, you know. I could be 60, you could be 62, and like the fight won't happen. On fight night, I weighed about like 67 kgs. Cassper was like 92 kgs, you know. You can do the math or whatever. So already, you know, we sat down with the officials just before the fight, and they let us know, they're like, yo, man, this fight technically should not really be happening. We can get into a lot of trouble for making this fight happen, so we need to make it as safe as possible. If any of you guys gets knocked down or gets hit, or we feel like they could be, you know, we don't want permanent damage. You guys are not professional boxers, you know what I'm saying? We are gonna end the fight. So I think when the fight, you know, we get into the fight, you lose the fight. Obviously, adrenaline rush. It's a different thing. I sparred many times leading up to that fight, you know, and got beaten up, you know, and I fought tough guys who have been fighting their whole lives, you know. So for me, even going into the fight, it was just like, man, I got this. I can fight, you know? But I think you don't think about like the nerves and then getting into the ring and then just like
cameras and
just
lights,
cameras everywhere and all these people. And you just understand you're not surrounded by a whole bunch of boxing fans. You're surrounded by just an audience of people who are there to see you lose, to see you win, to see you like, they don't understand the actual sport. Obviously, there's some people here or there, you know, here and there. And you need to, and now I'm facing this guy that I've been training for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and he's right in front of me. And you go into it and it's like, to be honest with you, like I went into that fight like completely fighting with my ego and not like why I wanted to do the fight in the first place. And the reason why I wanted to do the fight was like a lot of my friends are boxers and they get paid peanuts. And these guys are sacrificing their lives, their livelihoods, like just trying to put bread on the table for their families, like literally fighting for peanuts, you know? And they have like, sometimes like 2, 3, 4 fights a year and earning maybe 5K a fight and still need to pay rent and still need to, you know? So it's like, so my whole thing was like, yo, it was for the underdogs, you know, and like, you know, to put on for the sport of boxing. I want people to come and watch boxing the same way they would come and watch soccer, you know? So that's really what it was about. And then you get into the ring and it's like, all I could think about was hitting Cassper. So all the strategy, like I was already told by my coaches, like, yo, don't try and hit him. You actually need to stay away from him as much as you can. Just move around, dodge him, move around. And it's like, if you look at that fight, I was going straight for him. Even when I got knocked out, I don't even remember getting hit. You know, I can remember getting up. I'm like, this guy won, yeah. Like, yo, why? I'm going for him. You know, you go, you know?
And it's not even from a personal point of view. It's literally from an ego. It's like, I'm going to fight and win. It really was
ego, you know? And we came out of that thing like with a loss. And yeah, and that's really like what it was. And it's like the lesson in me for that was like, one, you are not, no matter how great I am as a fighter, and no matter how great or not great he is, it's just like, we actually really need to respect the sport. It's a sport. So it's like, I'm not above the sport where I'm gonna be a lightweight that's gonna just fight a boxing match for the first time and beat a heavyweight. It's not actually really gonna happen. It doesn't happen unless I fight like Floyd Mayweather, and you know, and he's 40 fights undefeated. So it's like, I'm not Floyd Mayweather, you know. So it's also like, dog, you're not above the sports. It's like, yes, it was an exhibition match, but it's just like, no, actually like fight within your weight category. And that's what my coach told me after I fought. He's like, yo, but I told you that was gonna happen. And that wasn't me trying to be pessimistic. I said that like, you're a lightweight. If you fight a heavyweight and you get hit in the head, you're gonna fall. And he's like, and you fell. But he's like, yo, but you got up, bro. And I think that's what's so important, is that you got up. But with that being said, like, it's not over. There's still gonna be more fights, you know, more fight days to be announced. I know a lot of people are watching this and like, no, Priddy, yo, please don't. Like, just leave this, you know? And outside of me, like, feeling like, yo, I wanna redeem myself or whatever, it's just like, it's not even about that. It's like I said, like, the reason why I was doing this was to bring like eyes onto the sport, and I can actually really box, you know. Maybe like that night was not a good reflection of it, you know. It's a lot. There was a lot of things happening, you know. But this year definitely more fights for sure.
I love the perspective, and I love that you have a beautiful way of keeping your head above water, and with every loss comes wins, and you wrapped up the year with a beautiful win.
Vrr.
Long overdue, lyricist of the year at the Sahas. What did that mean for you, very briefly?
Damn, very briefly. To be honest with you, the first thing I asked your sister after that thing, I was like, yo, after I received the award, I was like, did I seem ungrateful when I went up on stage? I think I went there because like I'm just so used to not winning at events, you know, and that's not even pessimism. It's just like, you know, things go the way they go, award shows, whatever. It's like, I've been nominated how many times before? It's like, you know. So when I got my name called out, it was like, yeah, definitely, I deserve to win. Yeah, it's about time. But, you know, I was also there just also feeling like a little bit like, damn, I always wanted to win an award and now I'm on this stage accepting this award, and it's just like, I wish I was a little more grateful for it, you know? And yeah, but it was also like, but I'd never been, the reason why I do this thing has never been like to receive praise from people and accolades. I think the heartwarming thing was like how many people were so happy for me to win.
Yeah.
You know, like people were like, oh, I was on there and I was actually shocked. I'm like, oh damn, people are really like cheering my name. Like people actually knew and wanted me to win this award. I think that's what made me feel good about it. But outside of that, for me, it was just like, yo, I don't feel like the kids who didn't win any awards tonight should feel like invalidated, like, because they didn't win awards. And they're still gonna attend many more award ceremonies and not get awards. So like they mustn't feel like these awards like make you know? But in the same breath, it's just like, yeah, it's about damn time. Like you guys, like if you guys didn't give me the award, like what did Kanye say? Like there's that acceptance speech where he's speaking about like,
know.
Yeah, I mean, people wanted to know what would happen if I didn't win this award. You know what I mean? I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never
Let's
know.
go.
I think that's a fitting way to wrap up such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your work. Thank you for being a strong advocate for hip hop. And thank you to the lovers of the Five and Core. Thank you for sitting with us, chatting with us, laughing with us, getting to know this incredible human being that some of us have the privilege of experiencing on a daily basis. But that's exactly what this platform is about. It really is about unearthing, uncovering, unveiling, exposing, celebrating, giving, acknowledging, sharing, and just loving the ones that deserve the love. From me, Dumela Candice Mudisele, your host. From Priddy Ugly, Big Vrr.
Yo, can we, on the count of 3, can we just get a big vrr? You don't have to say big vrr, just vrr. 1, 2, 3. Vrr.